Good evening, traders. Happy Friday, and this is Krishna Joshi here again with 7 Points Capital. Gonna bring you today's trader takeaways. Pretty big positive day today. SPY's up over 3%, Q's finishing close to 4.5%, and Apple bounced back about 4%. But what was more interesting was everything else that went down with Apple yesterday. The likes of AMD, Nvidia, Micron, they all bounced back pretty sharp. So AMD finished up about 11.5%. That was pretty big. So this was my watch list today morning. I was gonna watch AMD, Apple, and then the Apple suppliers, which was Lumentum, Qorvo, CRUS, OLED. And on the low floats, I had NVAX, AKAO, UXIN. So these two I was watching in the afternoon, and for the morning I had NVAX and FLKS. Some other names for today were GME, big gap up, Intel, big upgrade, nice price target raise for them. And on the day two, my watch list was BMY Celgene, which was the takeout from yesterday, and the airlines, which was American Airlines Delta. So let's jump into SPYs. 10:15 we had the Fed chairman and the ex-Fed chairman speaking at an economic conference, and that sort of gave a nice drop right as the conference started. They started talking live, and once they said that they're going to be more accommodative, it's going to be a slow wait and watch sort of reaction from the Fed, we saw a nice push, bounced off of the 248, which was yesterday's high right there. So that rejection at 248, that support at 248 couple of times acted as resistance yesterday, and today we bumped into 248 and absolutely took off to 253. So nice 5-point push since the morning. And I remember at this point I was short in Qs, so I'm going to get into that. So I had Qs which I was short and just ended up losing a little bit. I was in the money on this trade, ended up losing some, but overall it was moving a lot. Apple was moving, so was AMD, and my goal here was once I saw this rejection, I shorted SPYs. Rather, I shorted Qs, AMD, and Apple, and I had decent covers in Apple and AMD right around the same time, whereas I was stuck short in Qs and got a nice push off. So even AMD, I wasn't out completely. I had a nice short average of 18.16, got a nice cover into the 18s, left some on, and then just lost some money on it. What did not work for me was shorting AMD, trying to pick tops in this. So once I saw a rejection at 1850 and I saw a huge offer coming, something like a 50,000 share offer coming in, so I'd step in front, short the next two levels, try to get some shares. Since it was a short seller restriction, it'd take me a few levels to go down, get some shares, and then it would come back and be out of money. So being SSR, the disadvantage was I was not able to get the size I wanted at that particular price. So there were instances where my average price was worse by 3 to 4 cents, and I'd be shaken out, and then it would just take off from there. Some other names that we mentioned that I was watching. So there was NVAX. So I had a really nice short in NVAX of the morning. Ended up giving back pretty much everything in this stock by the end of the day. So this was the open. We saw a nice push. So the stock had news which was phase 2 study. It makes vaccines for adults over 65. They had some positive data for the phase 2. And what happened was we saw a nice sell-off. The stock comes back and wicks with decent amount of volume right there. So we got nice volume action. We got that nice topping pattern, and the stock went sideways. It was on the level 2. It had 22.23. This is not working for some reason. All right. So the stock halted there for a moment at 22.23 right here, and it just So there was decent bid on both sides, and the stock just got absolutely clobbered. Just sold off, went down to 17, and on this bounce, I got a chance to get short 19. So I missed this. I'm watching the stock, but it was like an ISO order, so I couldn't catch any of that. But on the bounce, I got short 19s, covered into the 14s, 15s, some into the 13s, and then left it alone up until. So this was full size short 19s, got a nice sell off, got a nice P&L cushion. But by the end of the day, which was in the afternoon, right around here. So this is where I was short 13s. The stock would flip down, go to 12s. I was able to cover some at 12s. The stock would flip up, I would sell 13s, go down. But once it stopped doing that, this time I got slipped real bad. I could not cover anything on the 14s. In fact, I had to cover 16s and 17s for this. So ended up pretty much giving back everything I had. I had a decent sized position, short 13s. The reason why I was still holding on was I was able to cover 12s on certain dark pools, which is why I was confident that the stock wants to go down. It's looking good, and I ended up giving back pretty much everything on the stock. The other low floats that I was watching midday were UXIN. I missed the morning in this. The stock had decent volume, but I couldn't really get a feel for the stock. So I ended up shorting the 381s and 382s right around here. So the stock had a nice push right off the open, sells off, makes a V bottom, makes a high, new high by just a little bit, around the 4 figure, which is also significant. The daily is also important in this stock. Look at how wild this stock is. And then there's going to be a lockout expiration in this one. So the stock's been active the last few weeks as well. Najib brought up, one of the newer guys on the desk, he brought up that the borrows had been difficult as well. But today it wasn't that bad. So there were plenty of borrow on the desk available. Ended up shorting 81s and 82s right around here. And so what I was looking was the 85 rejection. So once I got in, built a position at 82, my stop was just above this, which was 88. And as it started working out, as it just took off this, I knew that if I see 84, 85 getting taken out, I am going to exit the position for a small loss, or if it fades down into the 60s, that's what I'm going to look to cover. I ended up covering early in the 71, 72 area. So it was a quick scalp for me. It did bounce back and then still fade off for the rest of the day. But the interesting thing why I wanted to cover this setup was we had another tight setup, nice ascending triangle right around here as well in the morning, but the momentum was on the upside, and that was really important. Which side you pick on this stock. So especially once when you have a stock which is having a nice V bottom, nice reversal, a nice push up, makes a double top and comes back, and this ends up being a short setup for me, versus had I been looking to get into here, this was a nice long setup for me. So you can see the volume drying out on the selling side. The volume picks up on the green bars. Look at the volume bars, all of those on the buying side. Topping tail with heavy volume, close to 350k, close to 250,000, and the volume dries out again. So this was the sign I was looking at. Ended up shorting it. I was talking about the tight risk reward that I liked on this particular setup, and ended up being a decent trade. The final one I want to cover is the midday news that came out in AKAO, where the Melinda Gates Foundation gave the company about 7 million. So I was looking at AKAO. Look at the daily on this one. The stock's been down. The performance on the year is down 90%. The float is about 24%, and the market cap is close to 58 million. This was yesterday. So today the market cap is close to 85 million. So the 7 million that they got for the drug wasn't really that significant. So that was something that I was watching out for. And if you recollect the Foxhead trade that we went over yesterday, where we saw a lot of volume coming in, a lot of volume on the topping pattern, and which is why we waited patiently for the borrow. The borrows weren't easy, by the way. And once we got it borrow, ended up shorting in the 90s, which was right around here. The stock went sideways, choppy, shook me out. I remember Stan was in that same trade as well. So it shook us out, lost a little bit on this one, about 5 to 7 cents. And it sets up again in the 90s. So I ended up shorting 92, 91, and 90. And we got a nice little cover into this one. So here, this was the 85, 86 was really important. Even on the level 2, we saw a couple of levels which are holding the bid, which was around the 85, 86 area. So I knew that once 85 gets taken out, we're going to look into the 65 area as a potential target. So this ended up being a nice short cover. Made back everything we lost here and more, but I ended up shorting pretty early at the 82s and 83s right around here. So I ended up started up short position in the 80s. Lost a little bit on that and got right back in the 85 and got a nice cover into the 72, 73 area. So I think the entries could have been much better, especially on the second one. For the first one, I think I could have only put on half my position, waited patiently as to how the stock wants to react, because I didn't really have the best execution. So if I was short, let's say 197, 198, I'd have been much more comfortable having my full size with the stop above here. But having 190 on the short position wasn't the best price, and that's partly why I got shaken out. So either have half my position, add another tier as it goes after the shakeout. That's potentially one thing that I can do differently here. So those are some of the key takeaways from today, guys. Let us know if you want to cover any more symbols. That's my watch list again. GME big gap up. Had a few trades in on the pair trading side and in the takeout. But that's it from me for today, guys. Enjoy the Friday. Have a good weekend. Krishna Joshi here with 7 Points Capital.